Thank you guys all so much for having me here. What I did to kind of prepare for this was contact our customer service team and see what the most common calls we get from parents, teachers, caregivers, so that I could make sure that what I was presenting was actually helpful to you guys. So these are what is the most common concerns that we have come in through the population that is not necessarily audiology, the mapping side, which it sounds like you guys went through all of yesterday, which is really nice. And then if there's anything on here that you feel like it's missing or you want more elaboration on, you can feel free to reach out and put all my contact information in here. And I'm obviously more than happy to come back to do more of a troubleshooting presentation as well.
It's not letting me.
What is your educational background?
I'm an audiologist.
You are an audiologist.
Yeah, so I was a clinical audiologist prior to moving to the Cochlear side. And now, so typically this presentation would be done by our engagement manager, who is currently transitioning roles. So their role, she's actually a speech and language pathologist that now works for Cochlear. My primary role is surgical and clinical support. So I work with people like PKMT that you guys saw yesterday. If there's a really difficult case or if mapping isn't going the way that we would like it to, just to kind of see what's going on with the internal. And then I work on the surgical side as well, and join for surgeries with cases that have abnormalities, or if we're anticipating something a little weird based on a scan or something, then I'll be present for the surgery as well, as the guide to what Cochlear recommends for certain cases.
So Bethany is our contact.
Okay, that's
and
fine.
You are like,
Well, she can share it from her computer. if
Yeah.
She has
Yes,
Zoom.
Bethany is kind of your go-to if you have someone who wants upgrades or, sorry,
Zoom.
we can use the other one, it's not a huge deal.
We're just gonna share yours. That's
Oh,
good.
perfect. So Bethany has actually recently transitioned roles. Bethany is on the consumer side in a way where if parents have questions about pairing a mini mic, pairing a TV streamer, upgrading the processor, anything ever related to that, they would go directly to Bethany. You guys can contact me for pretty much anything.
I have her open.
And I also have some very important contact links on here. How many of you have interacted with our ProCare team? Yeah. So ProCare is kind of like the holy grail of Cochlear. If they cannot help you, they know exactly who
Click on the email.
to get you to help you.
The email.
Did you have a question?
I did, I'm so sorry. You
So,
said
So that's a link.
are there for the surgery?
Mhm.
So if because I literally don't know that. Are audiologists usually in the room during the surgery?
Right click and download.
So from a representative standpoint, yes. If it's AB, Cochlear, Med-El, yes. Typically they have an audiologist in the room. If it is a typical run-of-the-mill case where they're not anticipating any kind of abnormality or obstacle, then they will have one of their in-house audiologists. So for example, PKNT, a lot of times Sarah will be in the OR for interoperative testing, to run NRTs, make sure impedances look good, so that they can ensure that mapping goes well a month out when they're ready for that. So there's a lot of testing done in the OR to ensure that the internal is working prior to having the kiddo or adults ever leave the OR. So if there is an issue, God forbid, it can be solved before they even leave.
we do the AVRs too in there.
Okay.
Oh,
They had an issue with contracts with.
yeah,
Cause I
our
was like-
organization doesn't have
So I have a different
Microsoft
kind of
accounts.
implant, so yesterday it was like, it was crazy how much, I was
Okay,
like,
so
oh,
nice to
baby,
see you.
I
Have
can't
your
work.
one.
So, and then having a person in there, I did, so.
Unless she
Interesting.
touches it and then you can download
Yeah,
it without.
But I guess I'd never realized that or heard that before and like put two and two together and I'm like, duh, that makes so much sense.
Is this, what do I ask you?
So you can we can only share your old
That's fine.
PowerPoint
I'll
from our
send it
computer.
out.
If you can link to Zoom, you can get it on.
Okay, yeah. It's just the animations are a little, like they slid, so some of my slides, the words are just roughly cut off, so that was why I had fixed that. I apologize. But if you want to pull up my original one, it's not tremendously different, and I can kind of talk through it, but I'll make sure you guys get the updated one.
Yeah. So we don't have Microsoft.
Oh,
That's the problem. So if you could share it in a different way, we can.
You said a Zoom link?
If you have a Zoom link, we can link your computer. If you want to share it to me in a different format, I can open it from here.
All right, everybody. All right, I just sent it via PDF. We're able to open it that way.
Sometimes it takes a while.
Vince, I am part of the now generation. I want it now.
Me too.
I think we're all in that generation now.
While he's doing that, do we know when the N8s are coming out?
So we don't have an exact timeline. Cochlear has told us, quote, very, very soon. However,
We just got a lot of
It is-
parents waiting for those to come out. So I
yes. I mean, the N6 becomes obsolete in March, and historically, Cochlear has
Oh, there we
never
go.
made a product obsolete without providing a newer one. So I do not know when it will be out, but if I had to guess, it will be prior to the N6 becoming obsolete.
With that happening, so, will, like, we use different FMs or streamers, will that change?
Will the attachment be different or will
Yeah.
our 20 still work?
Everything is backwards compatible, so I don't know what it looks like. It's kind of like a loose lips, sink ships mentality at Cochlear.
Okay,
So we essentially find out when all of you find out. But everything is backwards compatible. So people who have the FM systems you have now, it should all still link just fine.
There's
okay.
no, the N6 battery doesn't work with the N7, and so we had lots of upset parents.
It should
So
be backwards
be able to
compatible.
use the
Yes,
Okay.
everything should be,
Then like, we, bought these R20s from Phonak, like, are we all of a sudden gonna be like, we have them, cause I have some other, like, I have Rogers 7, whatever, one's from a processor before. Thank you,
1780.
there you go, sorry, that's why I went
Yes.
with her, and if you ever have questions in our, you want to ask her, but,
to my knowledge, it will be backwards compatible, yes. So
Have they-
again,
Have they fixed the Kanzo thing too on the tubes, how you have to like, the song and dance, getting it to turn on and
so the
off?
Kanzo 2 isn't what is going to be updated, it's the BTE processor.
Okay.
I will say that people have better luck simply like pressing it like a button as opposed to trying to tap it.
Okay,
So in short, no.
okay.
But holding it and like pressing it like a button seems to work better than trying to find exactly where to tap
Yeah,
it.
it's.
Yes, I can understand that
And then with the
frustration.
remote, is that the only way to get the streaming started with the mini mic, is through the remote for Kanzo too? 'Cause there's
No.
button.
Yes, so it, through the remote, and also I kind of cover that a little bit in this PowerPoint,
Oh,
but we
sorry.
no, you're totally fine. A lot of our schools in other states, regions have been utilizing the app with their kiddos, so on their own phone, or if they have an iPad that the school owns, they've been syncing it up there and you can connect it, and it also ensures that your mini mic is on and paired, because a lot of times you're going down the hallway and saying, what's your favorite color, really softly to see if they're actually paired. So that's another nice visual way to really make sure that they're connected. I will say the only obstacle with that is oftentimes people will forget to turn off their mini mic, and then they'll go to lunch and their kid will still be hearing them talk about whatever they're talking about at lunch. So that's the biggest issue with having it connected to a school iPad or something, is that it stays connected. But a lot of districts have been utilizing that as a way to get visual, okay, this is on, it's green, we're connected. Because that's a big obstacle.
Are they doing
Sometimes
that daily?
it connects automatically when you enter the room, as long as that iPad, typically people are using an iPad. If you're using a phone, you would have to, connect it, just because it's your personal phone. So obviously when you leave,
So if teachers don't wanna do that, and there's not an iPad designated for them, because if they leave the classroom, is it then dropping it?
typically
Do you know what
no.
I'm saying? Cause it's like kids are bouncing all over the school. And so
Yes.
usually we
They-
touch the mic once or the remote once and then it's streaming. But I'm just curious if that. are
So
you
that
having
is what you would
dropping?
still have to do, and what other districts have been doing, because a lot of people like the visual representation that it is connected, seeing that green light on the iPad or their phone, they'll have the kiddo take the iPad with them, so everything goes with the kid.
So if they have their remote, it's gonna be way easier because
Yes,
it's smaller.
and everyone should have a remote, it comes standard with all of them. It's not one of
I
the,
have a student that had an old remote and a new remote, and the old remotes, somehow they got those,
oh,
and they have N7s and Kanso 2s, and it wouldn't work because
the old remote.
it's the old remote, and so it was incompatible, so.
Interesting that they had the old,
Weird, right?
were they upgraded from the N6 and just,
No,
interesting.
very weird, I know.
Something like that you could contact ProCare for,
And they just-
and they would just, I don't even think they would have them send the other one back. They could either send it to you or direct it to the kiddo. They would just confirm the address.
I was gonna ask, cause will ProCrash send us a remote if we can't get it from home?
If you have a patient associated with it, so if you contact ProCare and say, I've got this kiddo, you'll need the date of birth.
Yeah.
Then yes, they will.
And how much does that cost?
Typically, if it's associated with a kiddo that's in warranty, it wouldn't have a cost associated with it. If they're out of warranty, I believe it's $300.
Like a bonus one for the school to keep at school?
Typically, the school gets one.
Okay.
And also under law, the school needs one, so if it weren't covered, it would be covered by the state, which is a little bit more of a process. It would have to go through our whole insurance system, and I don't know if you guys have ever tried to get anything from the state. It is not, it is not.
But if we
So
have
we're
a student with the patient
Yeah.
and we have their birth date,
Yes,
you will send one to us and you guys do all the paperwork then on your end?
OMS does, so not me necessarily, but our insurance team would do
Okay.
that.
No, that's
Yeah,
great
when you
to
say
know.
typically the schools get a remote, how does?
I
So
don't think
typically
never
meaning that
happened
the
for me.
state, so same with FM systems, or you guys are a little bit in a special scenario because your school is built for this kind of thing, but if you're in a general school system where it's supposed to be covered by the state, as are FM systems, it is required by the state for them to give children what they need to,
To access.
yes,
But I
but
have some parents who do not wanna send in a remote. either.
Yeah,
because they don't want to lose it at
won't
home
send
because
us-
they need it.
Yeah, they won't
Yes.
send us their remote, and so,
That's something I would have
That's
to
where we're
check
stuck.
on for, because I do believe it's only one, so if you have a bunch of kiddos that are coming and going, that's something I would have to check on to see how it would work.
So you're saying one per district, not one per kid?
Not one per kid, no.
And that's
Which-
impossible, when you cover
Exactly.
50 schools to have one, it's not like.
well, no, you're not gonna track 50 different remotes.
Yeah, and they
Well,
wouldn't
I would do
give,
it by sticking it in their FM system
Yeah.
bag.
Right,
have a
Like,
right.
we would just
Kids,
keep
yeah.
it with that,
With
and then
that-
as they
with
go to
their
classroom to
equipment.
classroom, but
I would have to
would
check
have
on
to
how
be
that
one
would
per
work,
kid.
because that's a lot of kids and that's a lot of remotes.
Well, like, we're the largest district in Utah.
I would have to check, I
Between
don't
the two of
have,
us who
I
are
don't have the
school.
answer for that.
Okay.
But I can certainly get it and let you know.
and we don't have 50 CI kids. I've got 16 in my area,
Okay,
and probably 8 of those are Cochlear. So,
okay.
or more, probably 9 or 10, but
I would have to check on what the process would be like to get them an extra remote. I could understand why parents wouldn't send their kiddo to school with a remote because the
yeah, well,
likelihood
they
that
keep
it'll
their mini
come back.
mic at home too,
Yeah.
so we pay for a mini mic, and then
Okay.
we have that set up, so that's what I'm sorry to derail you.
No, you're this is why
While
we're
we were
here.
waiting for it to set up.
And we're gonna kind of go over this, but I will get an answer to how to get that, and what that would entail. I do think it's about $300 if it were to be bought outright, but I would have to double check. So things that we're gonna cover are just important contacts, namely ProCare. ProCare again is the holy grail for all things cochlear. Anything that you need or could possibly want, you can access through ProCare. Helpful apps, links, troubleshooting tips, how to connect your Bluetooth accessories, retention options, and rehabilitation resources. So again, the first one, ProCare. When would you call ProCare? So anytime you have, typically this would be your audiologist, so you would get the child's audiologist. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with who your students see. So generally this would be done through the audiologist, but if you ever needed to contact them for help with pairing a processor, if you just can't get it, the link isn't working, everything's going wrong, you can contact ProCare and they can walk you through step by step how to pair any of your devices, whether it be a mini mic, FM, or TV streamer if you're doing like a presentation where they need that. ProCare is a really good resource for that, and they have very short wait times as far as getting on the phone and getting you taken care of.
Mary, I have had an issue with this because you have to actually have an account set up for them to give you much information.
So if you have a kiddo associated with it, you shouldn't have to have an account. You do need to have their date of birth.
Okay.
This is something that's in the process of changing.
Okay. Because in the past it's been, well,
You
you're
need the
not an
cochlear,
audiologist, so you can't, and I'm like, yeah, but we do everything for our kids, so.
So option 3 is the parent caregiver line.
Okay.
So that's why you want to go to that. Oftentimes you hear the professional line and that's what you want to click. You do need an account to go to the professional line.
Okay.
Option 3 is essentially saying that you're the caregiver for the patient. So yes, if you go to the account and the professional ones, you will need to provide an account number. Again, the orders, this is something the audiologist would do, but it's nice to know that this is where they would go. So you can email the audiologist, say, is there any way that you could contact ProCare, get this kiddo mini microphone covers, whatever it is that they need. Sometimes it's just nice to know where you go and where to send the audiologist. It speeds the process up quite a bit. Light indicators, if you ever have a kiddo whose processor is flashing and you're just not sure what's going on, there are guides online that I'll go into in this PowerPoint as well that tell you what those lights mean. But again, ProCare is a really easy, quick way to say, hey, this is flashing yellow, we can't get sound, what does this mean? Again, prior to the call, what should you have ready? So patient's full name, their date of birth. If there's something going on with the device, again, this is more the audiologist's realm, but the serial number. Again, you guys shouldn't really need that, but I figured I'd put it up there in the event that you get someone from ProCare that asks for it. It's nice to have it ready prior to making that call. So helpful links and apps. These are all linked to our main web page, but the Cochlear homepage, if you are on the homepage itself, I wish that I could click it, I'm sorry, but if you're on the homepage itself, at the very top left-hand corner, there's just home and then there's professionals. All of you, if you go to that professionals tab, you will be blown away with how many resources there are for rehab, for finding all these guides that tell you where the indicators are, for telling you there's actually fully downloadable PDFs that are essentially a teaching plan, and it gives you, I think it goes up to 42 weeks of like oral rehabilitation and listening activities that you can send home with parents, that you can do in downtime, incorporate into the classroom. Super, super helpful resource, and they have them for all ages from toddler up to teen. And then there's an adult link as well, but super helpful. Completely downloadable, and it gives you a whole system week by week if that's something that you wanted to incorporate. Communication Corner, same thing, tons and tons of resources based on developmental age and what their interests are. So there's different categories for if they're more visual or if they want the learning exercises that go on an iPad. If you have kiddos that can independently play on an iPad or a computer, there's games that they can play that help with listening activities to help them become more efficient and get used to wearing their implant. And it makes it into a game, which is really fun for a lot of kiddos. There's also a back to school guide. It is partially for parents and partially for teachers. In this guide, it gives teachers, again, more lesson plans that they can incorporate into their day-to-day activities or that they can send home with parents. It also gives parents a guide at the beginning on how to prepare your kiddo for school. What can you do prior to make the transition with an implant easier for the kiddo, easier for the teachers. So it gives you a lot of helpful resources there. When I can email this all to you guys and it will link it directly to it. So you don't have to hunt through the Cochlear website. It'll just go directly to it.
That's good.
That's why they're blue. So they're all hyperlinked. Just so that you guys know, Cochlear online store, again, this is going to be more for your audiologists. However, you guys stated that you had to buy your own mini mic because parents don't want to bring it in, things like that. That's where you would do this. So you would go to the store here. For this, you would need an account number. So that's something you have to call ProCare for before and establish that if you needed to buy something like a mini mic, like an FM system. Retention pieces, this is one of the ones that I called when I called our customer service department. This is one that they got a lot. Teachers, parents come calling saying, my kid keeps knocking this off. What do I do? How do I keep it on? I have another slide that goes into that a little bit later, but you would also get those at the Cochlear store. Cochlear Copilot is an app that can be downloaded on any Apple product. Is not yet compatible with Androids, unfortunately. But that is another kind of gaming system that gives you little games to help practice your listening skills. So for your kiddos that are able to independently use an iPad, that's a really nice one as well. And that's a completely free app. Nucleus Smart app, this is the one, I think I actually have a picture. So it looks like this on the home page. If you downloaded this onto your iPad, kind of like how we were talking about earlier, to ensure that it's connected, so you could go under your audio sources. Sometimes the mini mic can be on but not paired, so that would show like this with the green off, and you would just click that mini mic and you would know that they are streaming to it. It gives you a visual confirmation that whatever you're saying is going through that kiddo's system.
Is this also where you record the audio so that you can hear what their Kanso is hearing? Because the Kanso, there's no way for you to monitor.
Yes, that is not where you would do this. I would have to look up where that is done, to be perfectly honest.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. I was also going to ask, do you guys have any listening devices for like the N7s?
I do.
You've got all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, we can listen to an N7 and an N6, yeah.
you can, okay. That's something else I would probably want to see how I would get for you, because that would be nice for teachers to have a way to make sure that the device itself is working.
And that you only need one of, because it's the one teacher going around.
Exactly.
Right, and we would, I mean, a little bit of training on that would be helpful. Of course, you're doing some of that too, but yeah.
If I
we
were
can
able to
those
get those
devices,
for you, I would
yes.
definitely put together a comprehensive how-to. It is pretty easy once you've got it, but if somebody handed that to me and I had never seen it before, I would probably also not know what to do.
Mary, what was that question? Do we have this stuff?
It's a listening device, so it's a cable that has headphones that you connect to the device itself, and you're able to hear how it's working.
I probably have mine
The
in
N7.
in my car.
I have mine in
And I just wanted to, I don't know if everybody is aware of this, we just discovered a few years ago in my district, the state requires us to monitor every student who has, or to at least check on once a year and note whether or not their listening devices, any devices they have are working correctly. And we haven't always had a way to do that with implant students. And so,
Okay.
but we're supposed to, the state law says we're supposed to.
So that's what I mean by like, you're supposed to get one.
Yeah.
By state law, it should be covered by the state to have the resources that you need to take care of the
Right.
kids.
Yeah, even
that
if
you
there are
have.
no other services at all, even if that child has no other services.
I'll have to look
Sometimes
into
the
that.
programming audiologists have a couple extras.
Yeah.
Because Cochlear's a little bit more giving. The other companies, they don't have extras of.
Yeah,
But sometimes you can get them from your audiologist. too.
Yeah. I'm almost wondering, as like you said, Cochlear is a little bit more giving. We want the patients to be taken care of. So if you're having an issue where you don't even know if the device is working, I'll reach out to ProCare and see if that's something that we can get. I don't know how many they would allot, but it's something that would definitely be helpful to ensure that they're hearing how they should. So common troubleshooting, these were the most common calls that we got in, and they seem a little bit kind of obvious. However, sometimes the easiest solution is the solution. The most common one that we get is mic covers. So mic covers generally should be changed every about 3 months. Realistically, this almost never happens. They go into their audiologist maybe once a year for their annual checkup. They're doing well. That's when the mic covers get changed. So if you have a kiddo who's saying it's not working as well, it sounds dull, or they're not acting how they normally would, you don't feel like they're hearing as well, it's likely those mic covers need to be changed. They get buildup, they get.
so these are the
deep
mic
sweat.
covers on the,
Yes, and I can actually show you, I brought one that I can show you how to do. It just pops right off.
not a mic cover on a mini mic.
No, different.
Mary, is it just on one of these?
Yeah, I guess.
Is there a mic cover for a mini mic?
No, actually. So it has like those 3 little holes.
Right.
And that, I've actually never really thought about that. I guess that would have to be
Something
something
that you guys should develop is a little drop resistant cover for a mini mic, little
A drop
rubberized.
resistant.
Edumike has one, but.
Edumike
it
has
covers-
one, it doesn't fit
but
the-
it covers where the mic is.
Right.
Right, and you're like,
It's to keep the Roger X in place. so you
Right.
lose it.
Right.
but it's so crazy.
But
It's like-
something that would be awesome for a mini mic and prolong the life for our kids who can't seem to hold on to things.
Well, and I had an article I read about 3 weeks ago that said that mini mics, the Resound mini mic your mini mic, which is the same thing. The streamers are only meant for around 360 charges. So that means 2 school years. Are we meant to only get maybe 2 school years out of it? Will it even last that long? Because I was reading and it said that streamers are not intended for educational use. They're not intended for school-age kids. They haven't been made to go through that, where you have like your phone app touchscreen, that's meant to be heavy duty, used longer.
So I,
Compare the cost.
I mean, the cost is-
$250,
right.
and a touchscreen is $1,000.
Right, you're
So-
getting, you get what you pay for, I
Yeah,
get
it
that,
is.
you know, you totally do. But are we meant to only have them last a year or two, because that's what we're seeing, and then I'm reading articles on that, because they're only meant for usually around 360 full charges. Oh, that'd be 2 school years.
yeah. Admittedly, I don't have an answer for that. I know that we have kiddos that use them religiously and they use them in school. I'm not sure, like, in my perspective, they last longer, but I'm also working with a lot of adults, and adults don't use them like how kids use them. So I don't think it would be fair for me to say, no, they last longer, because they're not being used to the capacity that kiddos are using them.
Well, 7 hours a day.
Exactly, so,
Exactly.
Plus
So-
being handed to different
Yeah.
teachers and.
so probably 2
Right,
years.
well, and that's the thing, like, I sent the link to Allison probably 3 or 4 weeks ago from the Educational Canadian Audiologist. I can't remember what their name was, but basically talking about the different kinds of mics and how long and their pros and cons, especially with elementary kids.
Yeah, honestly, 2 years, given that it is being passed around, kids are not very delicate with things, I would say that that's probably pretty accurate. In my experience, they've lasted longer, but I also work a lot with adults. So again, I don't think it would be fair for me to say, no, they last 5, 6 years, because they're not being used to the capacity that kids are using them.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yeah.
Is there any future thing that Cochlear is looking at to get the Kanzos to be able to work with phone act devices? Or, that's my one issue with Kanzos, is that you're limited with the power of a microphone that you can use.
Yeah. So not that I am aware of, but I do know that Cochlear is working constantly toward making everything as accessible as possible, especially when it comes to kids.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that they're working on behind the scenes, but I am not aware of something like that right now. I did bring this in. So mic cover pops right off. Sometimes when you take the coil off, which you have to do to get the mic cover off, this will come off with it. That's totally fine. The second most common thing is a loose coil. So if you have a kiddo that's getting no sound, you really have to push this into the processor, and sometimes you feel like you're pushing it too hard. You're not going to push it too hard, and it kind of locks into place. That is the second most common call that we get that's saying, hey, my implant isn't working, my kid's implant's not working. So again, sounds kind of silly and obvious, but it's a big one. I can go ahead and pass this around if you want to kind of
And when you
see.
pull it off, you kind of have to pull hard too.
You kind of have to pull hard. I will
Or
say,
you're gonna break it.
when you're pulling it, do not pull by this part. Grab like the kind of meat of it and pull from there. If you pull from the coil, you likely will fray it over time. They're pretty strong, but over time, if you're doing it, it is gonna fray. Yeah. The next one is just making sure that it's charged. A lot of times kids will come in, they have a lot of different batteries, they'll grab the wrong one, or the charger wasn't plugged into the wall, or their sibling took the charger out to charge their phone. These things happen all the time. So just ensuring that it is charged. And that's another reason I asked if you guys had those listening devices. When you open and close that battery or take it on and off, it should flash indicating that it's charged. But it's nice to have that kind of reassurance that you're hearing it through those devices as well. And then the smart app, again, you can check to see if the device is charged. So pairing Bluetooth accessories. So again, these are all hyperlinked to how to do that. I also have a mini mic I can show you in here. So when you have, so you said that you bought your own mini mic, and you have how many?
We have probably 30 mini mics that we use in our district.
Okay.
Because we have kids with Bajas and with,
Canzos are, I have a lot of kids who are getting Canzos because they don't want the behind the ear.
Okay.
And I'm just like, the quality of the sound is so much better with the behind the ear. But there are some kids who are insistent, and so.
well, and their PIP providers are like, this is easier to get them to wear it a lot of times.
Oh,
And so they don't understand the difference in FM systems because they're in their house and not in school.
Yeah,
So we have to sometimes undo what the PIP provider has done
okay.
as well, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's never fun to have to undo what has been ingrained into a kiddo. I do have this hyperlinked, but essentially on the back, so this is your mini mic, on the very top is the power on button. It's very simple to pair. Every time you turn, you're to get your implant into pairing mode of your processor, you can either press and hold the button for to Mississippi, or you can just take the battery off and put it back on. That's my preferred method than trying to play around with how long you press the button for. And on the very back of this, there's a little Wi-Fi symbol with a white button underneath of it, and you would just use a paper clip or a pen to press that button. You do not press and hold because it kind of puts it in and out of pairing mode. You would just press and let go with a pen or paper clip, and it will flash yellow, let you know it's syncing. It'll do that for about 20 seconds, and then both the processor and this will flash blue, let you know that the pairing has gone through. All of this is step by step in this link. So I know I just said all that to you and you're probably like, I'm not gonna remember the light indicators or whatever. Very, very easy. It's like a 30-second video that walks you through it. And it'll also tell you the indication for that it's paired, and that's that blue flashing to say that it went through.
But it's easier if you have the app on your phone.
I like having the visual reinforcement personally, so I like seeing that slide I showed you where I like seeing that mini mic on. I like
If we're
seeing that.
in a younger kid classroom, there's likely to be an iPad, but if we're in a third and up, there's not gonna be an iPad around with that student. So that's where I'm just like, it's great when we can show that. I have teachers who are like, tell me what I can do, and it's helpful because we're in so many schools for the teacher to be able to
Their
visually do it.
cancels will be blinking blue the whole
Right.
time they're connected unless they're muted, and then they go green. So if they're blinking blue on their devices, then they're connected.
Then they're connected.
Definitely, I mean,
Yeah.
I have teachers who look for, but like you said, it's just another way.
I was gonna say, we get a lot of people that are like, it's blinking blue, but how else do I know? So that's why I showed this.
If I had a teacher that had an iPhone, and they downloaded this app, do they have to have like student information or something in order to?
Yes, so in order to get the app, it's gonna ask for the My Cochlear login. This is something you can get without being a professional. So it would be my recommendation that you make, either for the school, you make one, it has one general password, or you can have your own individually. It makes it very easy to get anything you need, because anytime you're logging into anything Cochlear, it's going to say, what is your My Cochlear account?
So I could get one for just me, right?
Yes, you could.
How do I do that?
So you would go to the My Cochlear website, you would type into Google just My Cochlear login, and it would bring you to the login page. At the bottom, it would say sign up. I believe when you sign up, it asks you what you're associated with. So you would say your school district, or you would, it asks for like the why behind why you would need this.
But you
then I
can
just-
use it with different kids, you wouldn't have to do.
I would make a general one. So like a lot of our clinics, so for example, say where I used to work, Tufts Medical, we had one that was just like Tufts Medical at Cochlear. And then we had, it was like audiology 1 or something. I mean, that's not it, but it was just a general one. So everyone knew what it was. So that would be what I would recommend. But if you needed to make one on your own, you could do that.
Can more than one person, use the phone app to check the implants?
So it can only be connected to one phone at a time, but you could technically have it paired to multiple phones. So like say, like mom and dads do it all the time. I have the kid, it's on my phone, I'm gonna connect it. I can check it on my app. But if they were in the car together and they both tried to check, it wouldn't work. It would only work with one.
So for people that don't know this, the mini mic can be paired to two different, or the CIs can be paired to two different mini mics. So when they have their mini mic at home, you do have to set up the one at school differently or the one at home differently. One has to go on program 1 and one has to go on program 2. So you hit the button once or twice, the white button on the back,
Yes.
And typically, because you have to push the button down twice on the Kanzo once, I have them do that at home and then set them up on program one at school so the teacher just has to do it one time.
Yes.
They get really confused by that.
The double push. I agree. And oftentimes people will press it too many times and then it can end up on a program that you're not sure. So that's why somebody press that back button. The number of times that you press it is the number of programs you're setting it to. Which is why it's important to only select it the once.
Mary Kelly.
Oh, some,
Quick question. I think I've done this before, but like you can use Bluetooth to like pair it without the app. Does that work?
So in your settings, yes, let's see, I wish that I could click the links that are on here. So how to pair it to an iPhone. So it is compatible with some Androids, and I've included the hyperlink to the list there, not all of them. And I will say that even when it's compatible, it doesn't work as seamlessly. Oh wow, look at that, there you go.
do you want me to play that or?
Sure. So this is how you would set it up in settings. It's actually the same.
Apple device. First, go to Settings and tap General.
The soothing voice.
Then Accessibility. Scroll down and select Hearing Devices. Next, turn your sound processor off and back on again. Your Apple device will then search for your processor and display it here in the Devices section. Select the name of your processor and tap Pair. You will hear 6 beeps to indicate that pairing has started. The sound processor light will flash blue for 4 seconds. The pairing will be finished when you hear a ripple tone and the sound processor light flashes blue for another 4 seconds. The pairing process may take up to 120 seconds. If you have 2 sound processors, both need to be paired during the same pairing window. To do this, turn each of your sound processors off and back on again. Your compatible Apple device will search for your sound processors and display them as a pair here in the Devices section. Select the name of your processor and then tap Pair for each side to begin pairing both your Nucleus 7 sound processors with your compatible Apple device. Make sure to confirm pairing is finished, as previously described for each processor. If you see your sound processors listed as 2 separate devices in the Devices section, see your clinician to have them configured as a pair. If you have not done so already, download the Nucleus Smart app from the Apple App Store. Once downloaded, open the app and log in using your Cochlear account details.
That's what I meant by you'll need to.
When you have signed in, your processor will automatically be recognized by the app.
Yes. It will require you to log into some My Cochlear account. So like I have one that I just use generally. Like every time I'm demonstrating in a clinic, I'll log into it and pair their processor so I can show them how it's done. A lot of times, especially older adults, they won't have their phone with them to do. So it's kind of nice to give them the visual walkthrough while they're there.
Will they have access to your phone though? If someone's calling you, will they be able
So
to
that's
answer
why,
it? 'Cause
yes.
That's the big concern.
So in the settings, you have to switch off notifications if you're keeping it paired. If you're just looking and seeing if the mini mic is on, you can turn your Bluetooth off and that be the end of it. If not, we've definitely had people or parents who are on the phone and they can't hear and their kid is streaming the conversation it happens quite a lot actually. I have heard it less so with teachers, which is good, but they just might not be telling me. But parents, it happens quite a bit where they're talking, hearing nothing, and their kid's in the back saying, "Mom, like, I'm hearing your whole conversation." So you can turn that off in settings as well and have it stream, not have it stream any of your calls. But definitely something to be wary of. Same with the mini mic. Sometimes we'll have teachers forget to take it off. The kid will go to recess and hear their whole conversation. Did you have a question?
So I'm at that mic Cochlear
Mhm.
to create an account. You're only given parent, guardian, spouse, or relative.
Yes, so when I did it, I hit guardian. I'm being recorded right now, so I cannot recommend that. So that is all that I'm going to say for that.
This is Stephanie in St. George. If you
Hey.
type in login for professionals, there is actually a place where you can go that's specifically for professionals.
I believe it'll make you put in an account number associated with the clinic though, for the professionals one.
I just filled it out and it didn't. It just made me say USDB.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're just caregiver and recipient.
Let's see. I can probably pull it up on my computer real quick.
Give it.
Let's see. Let's see.
If it's locked, it won't come open, but if it's unlocked, you can.
Do you guys have, I'm not connected to your Wi-Fi.
It's really complicated. Security is.
Yeah, you want to use my computer? You can use it.
I just want to see what she's looking at, if that's okay.
She's got it up if you want to look
I
at
have
it.
it right here.
Perfect.
This is the professional one.
She just got the professional one.
I think.
Oh,
sorry. This is the worst touchpad ever, so I have to have a mouse.
Okay, so to sign up for access, you would put the access form right at the very bottom, and then it would have you fill out all of this. So then you would do,
And I can just select the internet question.
yeah,
And it doesn't show.
and then it won't make you do an account. Okay. This is what I thought the clinic, but she said it allowed her to do USDB.
You wouldn't be USDB though, you would be media.
Oh,
Well,
That's okay.
It might just let you.
It says something blank entry will search all clinics and they can
I wonder if it would make you, I would have to look into that. I've always been associated with the clinic, and so.
Well, that just might be, I have
Oh,
several
no,
of
it
my.
lets me do schools, so you would just select the school.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you to George. Okay,
Do I reshare?
please. And then I just included the Android compatibility list because you'll get questions about that too from parents. And it's nice to just have a quick link to pull up and tell them if it's compatible or not. Can you go to the next slide for me? Adam, sorry, will you just go to the next slide? My remote stopped working.
Uh-oh. Oh, it's not working on mine too.
And you can skip past this one, we've kind of already went over that. So this is the retention options that I was talking about. We get a lot of calls from parents, teachers asking how or what they can do to have better retention with the devices. There's a lot of different options. Most kiddos, so this is again something that you can explain to the parents or email to their audiologist, and they can get these things complimentary under the kid's account from the audiologist. So I'm not sure that they would allow you guys to do it. Parents can do it. They can call ProCare and say, can I get a snug fit for my kid? It should be covered under their warranty, and it would be sent directly to the patient's home. If your audiologist does it, they could have it sent directly to you if you rather do it in office. 9 times out of 10, your audiologist is going to be the one who sees the kiddo to put on these retention options. But it's nice to know that they exist, nice to know that they're here. If you have a kiddo who's persistently losing their device, it's always falling off, it's nice to know that you've got options to get them squared away.
Sometimes they're charging our families though.
I'm sorry?
Sometimes they're charging our families.
If they're not in warranty, it would be a charge.
Yeah, which I don't know how long the warranty is, but it's.
Typically, it's 5 years. 5 years, and then after, and then they're typically due for an upgrade. So most kiddos, the N6 kiddos are not gonna be in warranty still. So if they're waiting on an upgrade, those are some of the kids that are not gonna have the complimentary option just because they're waiting on the upgrade, they're out of warranty. But when they do, and where the N6 is eligible for upgrade, if they were to upgrade to the N7 or the Kanso 2, they would then be under warranty, so that warranty period would start over. Given that Cochlear has announced that there is a new processor on the horizon, I would, as long as their N6 is functioning and working well, I would hold off on upgrades just because they would continue to be behind a processor if they upgrade now. Obviously, if their N6 isn't working, we would want them to upgrade because we want kids in sound.
Try your click, yeah.
Yeah,
should
thank
work.
you. Then I just gave a visual so that you guys know what it looks like and give you an idea of what would be the best option for your kiddo. Especially if they're older, sometimes they like looking at these and deciding which one they want. And then the Kanso, same thing. There's different accessories that you can use to keep them on, keep them attached. I'm sure you guys have seen pretty much most of these. Again, the rehabilitation resources, I just wanted to recap that. Super nice, especially if you're developing any kind of plans for school and you want PDF resources of a listening plan. All of those are available in the hyperlinks that were on that first page, which I think I linked again here. So all of that is there. What questions do you guys have for me? I know I kind of went through a lot and I talk kind of fast, so I apologize for that as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you guys recommending the Ossia over like a Baja now?
Yes, so Ossia, if they're within the criteria, gives access to more high frequencies. So if they are a candidate for the Ossia over the Baja, then yes, we would recommend the Ossia. Any other questions?
Explain what is the Ossia?
So an Ossia is another bone conduction device. It's completely subcutaneous. There's no abutment coming out of the skin. And it kind of looks like the Kanso, and it provides higher access to the higher frequencies. So the Baja stops at about 4K HZ, and the Ossia goes up to 6K HZ, so they just get more clarity and understanding. We have a lot of kiddos that are in the Baja start that are moving to Ossia that notice a big difference, just because they have better access to sound. The kiddos that are not a candidate, like maybe their bone line isn't good enough, it doesn't fit the criteria, they would still be very much a candidate for the superpower. But if they're a typical Baja candidate, then they would be doing the Ossia. It is only FDA approved for kiddos over the age of 12. So
I have a kid in second grade with them.
we do have surgeons that use it off-label. There's actually quite a few surgeons across the nation that use it off-label, but that is not, it's FDA approved for 12 and up.
What does off-label mean?
Off-label just means that the surgeon has looked at all of the products available, decided that one is the best, even if the indications aren't there. So say a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old who is a candidate on paper, but they're not yet 12. If the surgeon decides that they're healthy, their anatomy is good, everything else lines up, then they will go ahead and place an Ossia on them. And that's called off-label use.
So just so people know too, parents will say, my kid's getting implanted, and you think the kid's getting cochlear implants, and they're not. It's an Ossia. So you can flip it over, and on the back side of it says Ossia. So if you ever have a question, and then once you know that, you know you don't have to do oral rehab.
Yep.
Because it's a hearing aid, not a CI. So there's a lot of confusion with that when parents are saying they're getting implanted.
Especially because the Kanso and the Ossia look pretty similar.
I mean, I haven't seen an Ossia yet. I know you have, but I
We could probably, can I use your computer to pull up what an Ossia looks like?
Yeah.
Or if you want to just Google Cochlear Ossia?
see that. it
OSIA.
looks like
And there's no way to listen to the Ossia either,
No.
just like the Canva. So you can't monitor it.
The thing about the Ossia that's really nice, and Baja in general, is that it is more like a hearing aid than an implant, and once it's set to the kiddo's settings, as long as it has battery in it, it's going to be, you can be pretty certain that it's working as it should.
So Is the FDA going to lower that age for osseas?
They likely will. So typically, it just has to go through like the stages of FDA approval. And oftentimes if they get approved for one, they'll go ahead and release it so that people can start using it while still working toward lowering the age range. So I wouldn't be surprised if that decreases.
Say what?
That has the internal and external right above you.
So there's not
Yeah.
an abutment, but how is it staying?
It's
It's a magnet.
So this
Like,
is completely
that's
under the
why-
skin.
And it has like a hair clip.
Which is why it's like, it looks like it can't go, because I'm like, I haven't seen it, I know that was not, but.
Yeah, it's a bit thinner than the Kanzo is. Yeah.
Stick really far off.
And yeah, there's very, very little that you have to do with the osseous because it is the bone conduction as opposed to CI. There's just a lot less, even for like mapping purposes, it's a lot less tedious.
And the pairing is the same, you power it off and you do the mini mic and.
Yeah, pairing is the same across the board.
Is there any, I know some hearing aids are starting to put trackers in the hearing aids, so if they fall off, is there anything like that in the
Yes.
osseous?
So they have a Find My Processor setting. You have to have the Nucleus Smart app or the Ossia Start app, and it has to be synced to that phone. If the device is off or dead, it will show you the last place that it was on. But it has to have been paired prior. Sometimes we get calls from people who never did it.
That might be a process.
Yeah. So
We need that on the mini mic too, by the way.
Yes.
find my mini mic.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I can definitely submit it to.
They
to-
need it.
Yes,
We
do
tried
this.
putting tiles on it because we're losing those buttons.
Really?
Yeah, suggest find my mini mic
Find my
and,
mini mic.
some sort of case for the mini mic.
That front cover pops off.
Pops off really easy and,
Everyone in
The
this
clips
week.
pop off and break.
yeah. Any kind of case that would make it a little bit more resilient would be
A bit
useful.
more durable.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we have a whole system that essentially, the more people talk about one thing, the more funding and time and energy Cochlear puts into that one thing.
Good, tell them all.
So I'll just submit it 50
Oh.
times.
I was gonna say, should all of us go submit that so it's more, or?
I know, I'm like,
A lot of companies, it's like, doesn't matter what you say, it's if we actually call in a bunch of times.
No, ours goes directly based off of feedback, and it's essentially just like ranks it. So every time we submit something, it adds a tally to
Let's do that.
what is most important.
So you guys just bought Oticon, right?
So yes and no. Oticon, from my understanding, came to Cochlear and said, we are no longer doing this. Will
We can't compete.
you take on Oticon?
Yeah.
Cochlear agreed, but it's still in the like legal stages of, can we do that? What are the implications of doing that? It's still very much, it has not been solidified. If everything goes through from a legal standpoint, then yes, Cochlear would take on all of those Oticon patients and they would be Cochlear patients. They would get upgraded to,
So they'd be upgraded to the Baja. You
Yeah.
guys wouldn't be using a Pontos.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Edge mic actually works better than the Resound mini mic.
Yes,
Edge
it
mic.
does.
And so I was kind of hoping, praying a little bit that maybe your Kanzos and stuff would in the future connect to an Edge mic. or
The other
something.
nice thing about the Edgimic is that you can plug it into your headphone jack for kiddos.
The mini mic
who's-
you can too.
The multi-mic.
yeah, there's a multi, yeah,
Right.
you can.
Yeah.
But the Edgimic, the sound
better.
quality is better. I feel it's more durable
Mhm.
and
It just.
there's, the
better.
pairing is way easier with the Edgimic. Not that the Edge mic is
You
hard
just
to
have to
pair.
be patient with Edge mic.
Yeah, it just
Oh,
let
yeah,
it
it's
do its
slow.
thing. It's like,
It's
just let it go. Cause I have some kids who are like, oh, I want to let it do its thing.
Yeah, just
It's
leave it
good,
alone.
you know, but the Edgimic, I don't know, it's definitely more substantial.
Yeah,
And the
I'm not
sound
sure
quality's
how
better.
Metal.
it will work as far as integrating the technologies. I don't have a ton of information, especially because it's not solidified yet. There's just a lot of legal hoops that they have to go through to essentially absorb this company.
I mean, 'cause I definitely understand I'd rather have an Ossia than an Adhere, because drive anything out here, they don't want it. And then, you know, other things, but the Edgimic is something that, because we've done the Amigo Arts and there's some other things that,
Oticon's old stuff is great.
yeah, but their newer stuff is not bad.
Yeah, I don't know. the partnership with Resound is pretty concrete, so I imagine it would just be a lot of moving parts to tell Resound, because Resound and Cochlear are not the same company,
Right.
whereas Oticon we're absorbing, so it would probably damage the relationship that Cochlear has established with Resound.
Resound just has to make better money.
Hey, I'll submit it. But yeah, I don't know how that absorption would work as far as taking on something like the Edgy Mic.
Could you show us on the app where we can record the Kanzo so we can listen to it? Because there's somewhere on there that you're supposed to now with the twos, the Kanzo twos, that you can
Like
record
hotspots.
it and then hear how the kid's hearing. But I haven't been able to see that yet.
Just give you the password to the Wi-Fi.
That would be great.
It is security with a large
Capital S.
Oh, I thought you meant like it's high security, like I'm not gonna get on. I was like, okay, no worries, I thought you meant it was just like very.
No, I was giving you the password.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge it.
It's the USB Wi-Fi, the SSID.
But it's the BYOD one.
BYOD, yeah.
Thank you very
Bring
much.
your own device. Right.
Do you have a working implant on you?
It is somewhere in.
I put it back, the black one.
Is it okay? And then I have a Kanzo that is not charged.
Do you want me to go get my listening? Does anyone want to listen to the N7?
Yeah, this should be on and charged if you would like to do that.
3 minutes. Go fast, go fast. I'll run and grab it. If anyone wants to, and then I'm fast. You don't.
But yeah, that should be charged.
For your own kids. I want to hear somebody else's. Okay.
Okay. I should wait until she comes back before I show this video.
Do you want to link to the
Yeah, or I can look it up on your computer. If
4.3? Yeah, if you want to join them, if you want to join.
No, that's okay. I can just email you this link if you want to pull it up.
Yeah.
When she comes back, we'll play this, and this will give you a step-by-step on how to do the listening demonstration for the Kanzo.
Do you have it up here?
Yeah.
Does everyone know there's a lock on the back of it too? If it ever won't open, don't break it.
On every vacation out of
There's a
our
little
home,
tab right
there's someone
here
like you
that can make a flip and switch
who
to the
reunited
side.
to make up for lost time.
Stop. Okay, are we ready?
The Nucleus Smart App's Sound Check feature helps parents and carers to make sure that the microphones and microphone covers on a Cochlear Kanzo 2 sound processor are functioning properly. It provides a way to listen to the signal being delivered to the recipient by the sound processor. Before using Sound Check, make sure you are in a quiet place and away from devices that could cause interference, such as microwave ovens, other Bluetooth devices, and wireless routers. To use Sound Check, open the Nucleus Smart App and tap the processor status icon in the top right-hand corner of the screen to open the status screen. Then, tap the Sound Check icon in the top right-hand corner of the status screen to open Sound Check. If you have two sound processors, the left one will be selected when you open Sound Check. If you want to select the right sound processor, tap the Right Processor Select button. Then, When you have selected the sound processor you want to test, tap the Start Recording button to begin recording sound from your sound processor microphones. There are in-app recording instructions and sound assessment tips to help you obtain a good quality recording. The recipient will hear an ascending tone sequence at the start of recording, and while recording, the sound processor light will display steady blue. The maximum recording time is 30 seconds, and the elapsed recording time will appear on screen. Tap the Stop button to finish recording. The recipient will hear the sound processor beep at the end of the recording. Then, tap the Play button to listen to your recording, and you will be able to assess the quality of the sound that the Kanso 2 sound processor microphones are receiving.
Cool. Can we do that?
I don't have a charged Kanso. I apologize. Yeah, and it
Must
wouldn't
be
be
on
able
the head.
to.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Hey, you'll do. Come here.
And I will link this one too, and any others that you guys have talked about today that we have a visual for. I'll just hyperlink it so you don't have to go find it to that PowerPoint, and then I can send it to you, and I imagine that you have an email list for everyone, so that it's just easier to hit a hyperlink than to go look for it on.
And the Osio works the exact same way.
Yes. Any other questions?
What do we do if the lights are blinked? Like, so I have a kid that I have to use with the mini mic because he's got the Kanso ones. Obviously, he's going to be due for an upgrade.
Yes.
Soon, but it's struggling to stay paired to the mic.
Interesting.
Me too. And I have to like hold the button down, and his mom's a hairstylist, so he does wear product in his hair. So I've had to like kind of clean around the button and make sure that's not the issue. But it's like I'll come in and the teacher's like, he's saying it's not connected to the computer, but it is.
Yeah, mine won't stay connected if he goes about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet
So is
from
that
the
also
mini mic.
Kanso one?
That's also the Kanso. Actually, he just got a Kanso too, and it won't stay connected.
Okay.
He's got a 1 on one side and a 2 on the other side.
That would be like just a troubleshoot. I would have to see both of them and just see kind of
But
what's going
the
on.
blue light isn't flickering. Well, they turn the lights off because it drains the battery because the batteries are dying super fast now too.
That's another thing I was gonna say. You said that the blue light would stay blinking if it's in pediatric mode on the mapping settings. So if you have an older kiddo or a kiddo who told their audiologist they do not want the lights, then they will change it from pediatric to adult, which doesn't change the settings of like the sound quality, but it does change the light indicators.
But when you hold the button down for 3, you get a flicker of blue if you're watching.
Yes.
Right, it still flicks.
It'll
You know,
for 4 seconds
It'll be blue and then
it'll go off. But oftentimes teachers are used to seeing the flashing blue and they'll say, why is it not streaming? But it's because in the settings, the kiddo said that they don't want the light. Yeah.
But my kiddo says that it's just not staying connected at all.
Oh, no, I believe you completely. I would have to look at both of them
it'd just be a specific troubleshooting problem.
It's interesting that it's happening with this new one as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought was weird.
Maybe your mini mic's bad.
We got a brand new mini mic.
Okay.
We got it replaced because it was under warranty and that's what we thought.
Have you guys, who's not listened to the exam second, or is everybody listening to it? Okay, the mic.
And it just twists on just like the battery. So it's the exact same.
Yes. And like you said, there's a lock on the back. So if that's mostly for younger kids, it's almost never on. It's just so that they can't eat the battery.
And if they have their button activated, you hold that button down for 3 seconds and that starts the streaming instead of using your remote too. So you can stream out with mini mic.
Yours is a fun color. Mine's just black. I'm jealous.
Well, mine's black. There's headphones. So.
Oh.
They don't sell them. I'll take it. I painted it with fingernail polish.
We do have a lot of parents who, if they have a bilateral kiddo, they'll paint like nail polish, one red and one blue.
Yeah.
Separate. I will add those links to the PowerPoint and send them off to you guys, or to you to send it off. And then any other questions for me? Oh, sorry, and I'll get the answer.
Good products.
Yeah, anytime.
Yes. Great.
Yeah, and with Cochlear, that's one thing I really love about Cochlear is that they really do consider what you all have to say, which is makes it easier to do my job as well because I can say they're working on it. But I will get the answer to the listening devices. I'll get the answer to how you obtain a mini mic. If it is the state, which it is, like the state is required, they would probably only give one per. So I would have to look into that. Outright, I do
If
believe
they
it's
did
both.
just like one per district, like, we have almost 100 schools between the two of us, and we're both in completely different places,
Yeah.
so, you know, those kinds of things, but, yeah. And then just ways to listen to the Ossia and Canzo, you know.
I will hyperlink all of that. I'm trying to think, I know I was having a conversation with somebody about the listening tool on the Ossia. I would have to check the app to make sure it is the same as the Canzo, so don't quote me on that, but I do believe that it is. So I will have to check on that, but I'll hyperlink everything that we've talked about that isn't already hyperlinked, and that should be good. Thank you guys so much for having me. If you have any other questions, my information's also on that PowerPoint. You can email me, call me, text me, whatever you need to do.
If we can have Adam bring in you though, and you have all the universal stuff, and we troubleshoot and play and put it with.
Yeah, so if we did another one that's just troubleshooting, I could
on the
get
FM,
some demos,
you know.
because we're not like allotted a ton of stuff for field, but I can definitely get it in for training purposes.
Yeah, that
And
was
we can just do a
This is how
hands-on,
you do the mini
Yeah.
mic. This is how you do it with the Canzo 1, the Canzo 2.
we can certainly do that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.